how do we know what we know about dinosaurs? Well, for one thing, we know how duckbill eggs look because Jack Horner has found hundreds of them fossilized in Montana. We know that this giant creature probably made a deep bleating noise, not unlike a goose, because of the size of its nasal cavity and the length of its air passage. Given these clues, we can guess at the type of sound it actually would have made. It's like a jigsaw puzzle or a detective story. You find one piece and it fits into another. And it all begins with digging holes.
First, somebody finds a fossilized bone, more often than not a tourist or an amateur. And that signals a scientific bone rush expedition, because where there's one bone, there may be others. What survives usually is not actually bone. Most bones turn into dust. Fortunately, some fossilize, becoming hardened mineral deposits. Once extracted, often still encased in rock, the fossils are then put in a plaster of Paris cast to be moved to a museum or a lab for further cleaning and study. Dinosaur finds have been discovered on every continent except Antarctica, and in at least 20 states, with the biggest finds in the Rocky Mountain area. Paleontologists don't always agree on how to put the fragments of bones together. It's as if one were to go into an auto junkyard to try to assemble a car out of all the scrap. You could wind up with an Edsel bumper on a Cadillac body with wheels by Chrysler. Paleontologist Phil Curry.
If you can imagine that sometime in the future, cars have been replaced by some other mode of transportation, and a scientist came across this car graveyard. He found a lot of partial cars and a lot of spare parts, but only certain fenders will fit on certain cars and certain wheels on other cars. And so eventually he can get a best guess interpretation of what a particular model of car looked like. In a similar manner, a paleontologist who finds a dinosaur bone bed, which consists of a lot of skeletons that are mixed up, some are partially complete, some are actually completely dismembered. He takes the spare parts, and by best guess, he tries to figure out what animals they belong to. Eventually, he reconstructs the animal. Now, if he's lucky, eventually a complete skeleton will be found somewhere else, and it'll confirm what he's suspected all along.
Paleontologists who study prehistoric life through fossilized plants and animals are forced to work with the tiniest of fragments. Lost for ages, these fragments must be dated, cleaned, and pieced together. It's no wonder that a major museum recently replaced the head of its Brontosaurus. For 50 years, it mistakenly had the wrong head mounted on it. Other museums now are reevaluating their skeletons, sifting through the evidence to see if they're presented correctly. Scientists can also learn about the environment in which the dinosaurs lived by studying the virtually indestructible pollen grains of the flowers around at the time. The pollen is identified by enlarging it 30,000 times on an electron microscope. A dinosaur may have enjoyed the fruits of this plant for dessert. The detective pursues fingerprints, paleontologists pursue footprints. Dinosaur tracks have been found from New England to Texas. Often they're found before the bones are. From the tracks, paleontologists can learn how heavy a dinosaur was, how fast it might have moved. Unlike bones, dinosaur tracks are frozen moments of history. A predator stalked its prey, causing a stampede in Australia. A dinosaur seemed to hesitate as it walked slowly across a slippery mudflat in prehistoric Arkansas. The teaching about dinosaurs in schools today is no longer limited to just book reading and museum trips. Kids have more fun modeling clay and making movies. And youngsters, like the scientists, have learned how to challenge current hypotheses. Charlie Brown's sister Sally, for instance, has her own theory about extinction.
My report today is on dinosaurs. The largest dinosaur that ever lived was the bronchitis. It soon became extinct. It coughed a lot.
School children today are being purged of some myths about dinosaurs. For example, because of museum displays and movies, they've always believed dinosaurs dragged their tails. Yet tail tracks have rarely been found alongside foot tracks. But today we know dinosaurs didn't drag their tails. Some used them for balance, others for weapons. Paleontologist Bob Bacher tells about some other myths.
The traditional view of dinosaurs has three fundamental tenets. Dinosaurs were dim-witted, dinosaurs were slow-moving, and dinosaurs were swamp-bound. Now, you go to a museum or look up pictures of Brontosaurus in a popular book, and you see this great animal up to its armpits in a swamp. Nearly everywhere, Brontosaurus is portrayed as being limited to this hot, humid, murky environment. That's total, complete bunk. Brontosaurus liked dry environments, upland environments, not swamps. They favored the dry conifer forest, and their preferred food wasn't some sort of watercress, but conifer needles.
We also used to think that the Brontosaurus was the largest dinosaur in existence. In 1979, Dr. Jim Jensen of Brigham Young University discovered a gigantic pelvic bone which challenges that contention. Jensen has done some best guess arithmetic in designing, and he believes that when he finds the rest of this massive giant and assembles it, he will have what is being called the Ultrasaurus. If the Brontosaurus weighed 33 tons and was 70 feet long, then the Ultrasaurus may have weighed 150 tons and been over 100 feet long, 5 times bigger, a gigantic creature. If you were to take an elevator to the top, you would travel 6 stories up. If Jensen's calculations turn out to be correct, then the Ultrasaurus would probably have had to eat almost 5 tons of forage a day. The question remains, was his mouth large enough to take in that much food in a 24-hour period? If the Ultrasaurus is the largest known dinosaur, then the most recently discovered dinosaur in Holbrook, Arizona is among the smallest. Unearthed by paleontologist Rob Long and his team of University of California scientists, the bones indicate this dinosaur is no bigger than a German shepherd. Some dinosaurs are believed to have been as small as chickens. Long believes this to be a plateosaur. It could be the oldest complete skeleton of a dinosaur this small. The baby duckbill would reach the size of the plateosaur or a German shepherd very quickly. He would still be too short to reach the best foliage. Duckbills, it's estimated, ate about 200 pounds of foliage a day, and like a cow or elephant today, spent most of his waking hours eating. Eating techniques have to be learned, and the duckbills seem to have spent time with their young teaching them. But like all of nature's creatures, the child must one day go exploring by himself. The duckbill tail weighed 2,000 pounds. If it were fortunate enough to catch the Tyrannosaurus rex off guard and knock it off its feet,